men. I thought all men were just low down dogs and you guys were going to have to pay for everything and I was going to get all of your money. So I met a girl online and I was going to play her because that was my lifestyle. I was going to play everybody. I thought I was good at it. And she got me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that she was a pimp. She was a world famous pimp. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that she had just got out of hard time in prison for pimping women. So she sold me a dream. Come down. So one day after my daughter was born, we got into another bad argument and he picked up her bassinet and threw it. And I was shook. I just said, you would have killed the only thing I love. That's my baby. And I said, I have to go.
Remember, life is a journey, and whether you walk that journey alone or with someone, we all experience unexpected roadblocks and failures along the way. It's not what you do when you fall, it's what you do when you get up. So no matter what life throws at you, always remember, still I rise. Still I rise. So I just want to thank you again for being here. I just want to thank you for taking your time to be here and just to share your story. It has blessed me, and I know it will be a blessing to others, So Lord, we just want you to be here and just take all the glory. We decrease and we allow you, oh Lord, to have your way. This interview we command it to touch people's heart. We command that hearts will be convicted and hearts will be opened so that they can just listen. Listen. If you do nothing else, just take away what God has done in her life, So woman of God, without any further ado, just go right for it with your testimony.
Thank you for having me on today. It's been such an honor just to sit and speak with you. My God. My name is Tachianna, and I am the author of Surviving Trauma. And many of us have deep hidden secrets that we like to keep in the closet. And we never think that we would tell the world what we have done in the dark places. We never thought that we would tell somebody that I was once suicidal or once a stripper, or I used to be a thief and a liar. And I was ashamed, Ricardo. I was ashamed of all the things that I had done in my life. But it's when I came to Christ that all that shame and that self-condemnation went away. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and I'm going to start at the beginning of my life. And please feel free to stop me whenever you need to stop me. I was in foster care. And I was taken from my mother at a very young age. And I just remember going from home to home to home before I was 5 years old. I was in over 14 homes. There was some times where they kept us with my brother and then they didn't, and then they would put us back together. And they finally said, you cannot separate these two. They have to be adopted together. I went to my Puerto Rican grandfather's house, and my mother had called him from jail, saying, there's some grandkids out there and we know that you don't know about them, but can you get them because they're in the system? So my grandpa got us, and we lived with him for a while. And they said, we're too old. We don't want to do this. We just want to be grandparents. So they didn't want to put us back in foster care, but they wanted to place us in an adoption, like a home to be adopted. And they wanted an open adoption where they could call and see us and still be our grandparents. Now, I was treated well in this house. As far as I can remember, I was the princess. I wore the big poopy dresses. My grandpa used to do whatever I wanted. And I watched my brother get beat. And I'm sure in a lot of homes, there's like a sibling that's like a favorite and the sibling that's not. And my grandpa would pull off his belt and just beat my brother. And I remember at times my brother just looking at me as my grandpa was just hitting him. And I just kind of stood back in the corner like you don't want to say anything in fear of you getting possibly hit. So even though it was a safe place for me, it wasn't a safe place for him. and we got to this new home. And we had been talking to this family for a little while. But when you're a little child, you don't really understand, you don't comprehend what's really happening. You're just talking on the phone. We drove in the desert and we got to this little tiny town that had a bunch of trailers. There was one gas station, no Walmart, nothing. And just desert and trailers. And they said, "This is your new home." So the social worker dropped us off with my grandmother, with my big brown suitcase. And I'm sorry, I don't think I've cried about that in a while. But I just want to be honest, right? Oh Lord. When you felt just left like a dog somewhere, and they expect you to understand why you're being left, and they expect you just to fit in. When I got left there at my new home, I remember feeling I don't fit in. But I wanted them to love me, and I wanted them to like me. I remember their skin color was different than mine. The way I spoke was different than the way they spoke. And I just felt so unsure at 5 years old. And I was jealous, Ricardo, because now there was another sibling in the house. There was another brother. And now my brother left me. And that was the only thing that I had, being 5, is a suitcase and my brother. And my brother was outside and left me. And I remember standing outside of the window watching my brother like, "Why didn't you ask me to play? We play." And I don't think I've ever expressed the way that that's made me feel. So I remember running to the other window and watching my grandma drive away. And now I'm in the kitchen with this woman who's white, and I'm setting the table with her, and she's looking at me and I'm looking at her and she's looking at me, and it's just weird.
So I wanted to ask you, were your biological parents, were they in the picture at this point?
So no, my mother was in prison, and my biological father, he didn't want to go to court for me because he was selling drugs. He told me that when I met him when I was older, he said, "I was told to go get you, but I was selling drugs." So there was anger there. So when my grandparents left us there, we had phone calls. And the phone calls stopped over time. So the only thing that I knew stopped. And I felt sad. And I remember saying, like, I just wish, I was always like into the Disney princess movies. I'm only 5 years old. And I remember being like, I just want to be like Dorothy and click my heels together and they come back and get me. And it didn't happen. Over time, Ricardo, in this home, I felt as though my identity was being stripped from me. I had to become who they wanted me to be. I was always very girly. And I remember my mother doing things like picking me up and just putting me in the dirt and rubbing dirt on me. And all we did is clean, and it was just like cleaning was my life. I remember mopping the floor on my hands and knees, and she's yelling. There was so much rage in my mother. She was screaming, "Clean, clean." And that's all we did. There was times we did not get fed because we didn't do a chore. There was my mom, she was very abusive. She used to break wooden spoons over our backs, over our bodies. If we didn't do something right, she would pull out the drawer and there was just wooden spoons there. And I remember when we would go to the grocery store with her, she would stand there and there was like the little cheap wooden spoons you buy in a pack, maybe like 5 or 6 in them. And she would stand there and we would stand by the cart as she just picked out all of her wooden spoons. And we know that they were for us. The metal part of the fly swatter was what she would also use to hit us. And there was times I remember laying on my stomach with just metal raised bumps all up and down us, almost like whoopings. Like,
So there were nobody that was noticing all this that was happening to you guys?
so we were adopted then, and we lived in the middle of nowhere. And the people that they were outside of our home was not who they were inside the home. My parents grew up in a very religious church, and we were homeschooled. We got taken out of school. And I remember one time I told the teacher when I was in school, hey, my mom hits me. And they said, there's no way she hit you. She adopted you. She loves you. And we got taken out of school. So the one time I told, nothing happened. And so my parents, especially my mother, when she hit us around different family members, nobody said anything. Nobody. Not that there was often people around, but when there was and she hit us, nothing happened. It was literally, I thought it was normal to get hit with wooden spoons. I thought it was normal for her. She would take both of her hands and smack us on both sides of our face at one time. And I remember the pain in my ears. You know, I'm brown skinned. My face would be so red. And sometimes there would even be the marks of fingerprints, and my ears would ring because of how much she would hit us. I was constantly called stupid, an idiot. And I remember at times when she asked us like a question, and I just froze. I froze because you're going to hit me. I froze because I don't know anything. I'm stupid. I literally thought I was just dumb. And so it was hard for me to process words. It was because I just lived in fear. And so that was the majority of my childhood. So I have not being educated. I'm going through verbal abuse and also physical abuse. But nobody knew that I had started to be molested.
When did it
And
start?
people,
When did it started?
I,
Molestation. When did it started?
the molestation started probably around 6 or 7 years old. And what people need to understand is when they're hurting other kids, kids do what's been done to them. It's like this cycle that's happened. The person that started to touch me was only 4 years older than me. But still, there was that big enough age gap. So all I knew was this was normal. I couldn't go to my mother and tell. I didn't have a relationship with her. I thought I would just get hit if I did, or you already called me a liar. There was other foster kids, other girls that had been placed in our home, where these girls went and told the social worker what was being done. They told the social worker about the abuse that they'd endured, about my mother hitting them. They told the social worker about this other person who was touching them. And they pretty much said that the girls were liars. And they removed those girls. But nobody came and asked me. As the social worker, as your job, you didn't ask me. You didn't try to protect me. And so I thought at one point something was going to be done, because I heard my mother saying, I can't believe these two sisters, these two girls would say that thing. And I remember sitting in the back seat of the van, just crossing my arms and being so angry, like, you hit us. You hit us. This was not a punishment. This was not like a little spank. Like, I remember being traumatized. There was times where, because my brother didn't feed the dog, they locked my brother outside underneath the car.
Wow, that's very mind-blowing to hear. Like, but how did you get out of that whole situation?
So when the molestation started, when I was young, it lasted until I was about 16. And I remember the day I just said, if you touch me again, I'll call the police. But I had built up so much rage and anger. And I believe, I've never said this either. This is different today. I believe I had fallen in love. I had loved my person who was hurting me. I had anger, but I loved him. And when I saw him date other people, I was jealous. I felt neglected. I felt like, oh, you left me? Even though I didn't want it, even though I felt like it was gross and sick and, all those other emotions, it just became my normal. It was my normal. It was done to me. So I became very sexually active at a very young age. I thought that's the way I got attention. I thought that, I didn't think I was very pretty. I grew up in a town where it was a lot of white people, and I didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes, and I didn't play sports. And so I had a lot of self-hate. I had a lot of bitterness because I always felt rejected from my family, that my family didn't love me, that they didn't care about me. So I was looking for love and intent in other people, other not little boys, but 16, 17-year-olds. So I went through a lot of boyfriends. I went through a lot of relationships, and I just kept being used. I kept just a cycle. So when right before I turned 18, I left my mother's house. And again, I rebelled. I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to even respect them. I just thought that everything they stood for was a lie. So I got my first job, and I was happy, and I met a boy who I thought loved me, a boy who I thought was going to take care of me. And next thing I know is I'm pregnant, and I'm living with him and his mother. Well, he's suicidal. He's an alcoholic. He would threaten to hit me. I didn't know about calling the police. In my mind, it's like I didn't have family member to go to. I didn't have anybody else that I could turn to and ask for help. And Lord knows I did not want to go to my family's house and be like, I'm pregnant and 18 and not graduated, and can I come back? That was not an option for me. So I had the baby, and I was so happy. And all me and him did was fight and fight and fight. And one day, he was suicidal because his brother had committed suicide. I didn't know then it was a spirit.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was like a generational curse. I didn't know that. I just thought people are drunks, people want to die. No, it's not a normal feeling to want to die every day. It's like, if I would have only known now that who are you in the kingdom? Who are you that the devil wants you dead? Because God came so we have life, and life more abundantly. And so I wish now I could have spoken life. But then I was bitter. I was mean with my tongue. I used to cuss him out. I used to fight. I used to throw things at him and just be so angry because I didn't know I was wrestling with a spirit. I'm not even talking to you. It is the spirit that is speaking through him, this demonic spirit. So one day after my daughter was born, we got into another bad argument, and he picked up her bassinet and threw it. And I was shook. I just said, you would have killed the only thing I love. That's my baby. And I said, I have to go. You could hurt me. You could cuss me out, and you could slap me and push me, but not my baby. So I left. I left with a suitcase. I left with nothing. So many times what I see women do is they put everything in their boyfriend's name. The cars in their name, the bank accounts in their name, everything. And women are left with nothing. All of my money went into our new vehicle, but I didn't take it with me. I left walking, a vehicle I paid for, but legally I had no rights. I just thought it was, oh, well, I love him and he's got me. And no, it was the dumbest thing that I could have ever done. So I went only a couple blocks away because I didn't have anybody again. And as I thought I was leaving one toxic situation, I started to drink again. I was done breastfeeding and everything. And I said, ooh, let me drink. I need to relax. I'm so glad I'm out of there. Well, that night I was raped. I was raped by 3 men. And it was brutal. I didn't call it rape then. I didn't know that it was. I never, I just drank. And I don't know if I was drugged. I believe I was, but I'd never been that drunk off of 1 or 2 drinks. Never. And I remember coming in and out of consciousness. And I knew one of the guys. One of the guys, his friends, how do I say that? One of the guys is, his dad is friends with my dad. I knew him. He knows my father. And I thought I was in a safe place to drink. And I just remember my clothes being yanked off and I'm trying to climb up the stairs to get away. And I'm being smacked all over my body and each of them just taking their turn with me up and down the stairs and in the living dining room, the bedroom, the shower. And I was just being pulled in every direction. I woke up to a cold shower. And I just remember my body literally just had handprints and bruises on my thighs and on my arms. And I had a gash in my head. I remember at one point I fell onto a weight machine. And I went next door and I cried. And I just remember I used to sit in the shower and try to shower the filth away, shower the pain away. And if I showered enough, maybe I wouldn't feel disgusting. I didn't tell anybody because I blamed myself. Who was going to believe a girl that was over there drinking by herself with 3 guys? What was anybody going to do? Did I want it? Did I ask for it? All of this stuff went through my mind. Okay. So when I had lost so much in my life and I needed quick money, I had turned away from men. I was tired of men beating me. I had police officers beat me that I was in relationships with. I was a known side chick. Everybody glorifies being the other woman. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do is to feel unloved. Whew. And there was an event that happened in my life. Somebody had molested my daughter. And I said, I will never let a man in my house again. Never will a man come into my house. And so I built up bitterness and anger and rage against men. I thought all men were just low down dogs and you guys were going to have to pay for everything. And I was going to get all of your money. So I met a girl online and I was going to play her because that was my lifestyle. I was going to play everybody. I thought I was good at it. And she got me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that she was a pimp. She was a world famous pimp. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that she had just got out of hard time in prison for pimping women. So she sold me a dream. Come down here, come dance. You get a car. I can get you a house within 3 months. And I said, I know strippers make money and I know I can dance. I started to bleach my skin. I started to go on crazy diets. I went to Vegas. My biological mother, I met her. She's the one who took me to go buy all of my stripper clothes. My own mother taught me how to be a stripper, taught me what to wear, taught me how to get more money. So I started to work the clubs in Las Vegas. I worked several clubs. Next thing I know, she says, my pimp, because I thought it was a relationship. That's how they get you. I had a pimp by accident. Next thing I know is she said, all of your money you will give to me. You will put it in this drawer and don't you dare steal $1 from me. And she started to abuse me. She started to mentally tear me down, calling me fat. And I would be working out in the gym and I would go to the clubs and be on my feet for 12 hours a day. I didn't know the strip clubs was brutal world. I didn't know that you pretty much had to sleep your way up to the top because the security guards gave you good clients. You know, it's a whole industry that the security will bring you good clients if you tip them good, if you sleep with them, if you're friends with the owner, if you go do drugs with all of them. But the Lord kept me from really doing drugs with them. There was a videographer who was in the club, and I was always so leery about him. But this man always wanted me to get to his house. There was times when if you don't pay the security and they don't want to walk you to your car, something could happen to you. Men would try to slip their fingers inside of you and grab you, and the smell of vomit from their breath, from the liquor and the semen that they just ejaculated because you are just an object to them. I'm so tired of women glorifying stripping when every time you're there, you look over your shoulder to make sure another stripper's not stealing from you, to make sure nobody has roofied your drink. I saw women foaming at the mouth, almost ready to die. There was pimps coming in the club and they were just pulling women out, and nobody would ever see these women again. Many times when I had to make my quota in the strip club and I didn't make my quota that night because it was a slow night, I would talk one of the gentlemen into having sex with me and taking me back to their room. And I went with no security. It's only by God's grace that I still have my life. The porn industry will come into the strip clubs and they want to pull you out of the clubs. And I almost did it, but it was just God who kept me. They sat there and they told me I would make so much money if I go in, and they gave me thousands of dollars that night. I danced on famous people, thousands of dollars. They wanted me to go on tour with them, but it was just God that kept me.
And like my husband and my son was there meeting, like ready to meet me, right? I opened my eyes and I was like crying, but I was upset. I was upset, like I wasn't happy. I was upset. And so my therapist was like, what happened? So I told her everything, what I just saw. And and she said, but like, what's wrong? Why are you not happy? Why are you sad? And I said, because I don't know how to do what he's asking me to do. I don't know how to be a woman. That's what I told her. I was like, I don't know how to be a woman. I don't know how to do that. And she said, you don't have to worry about that. He's gonna lead you. He's gonna help you do that. And I remember, like right after that session, that the girlfriend I had at the time was there to pick me up, and that was so awkward. And you know, we went to dinner like right after, and I couldn't even eat. Like I was crying, and I was just like a mess. I was literally a mess because I was like so confused. Like I had actually already gotten the courage to shop in the men's section without anybody caring, express myself as a guy without anybody caring, be with a girl in public without anybody caring. Like I had just gotten to be okay with who I was, and then now God is telling me, scratch that. We're about to start over. So